So, Tom, I need you to bottom line it for me. I know we tell our guests this all the time, but now it's up to you, Tom.
To me,
so,
wow.
I mean, it's up to me too, but you can go first. So, what's the one or two things you would like for our listeners to take away from this conversation about professional development?
I mean, thank you for having me, Puneet. This has been a tremendous honor. No, absolutely. I think the two things which coming into this conversation, I really wanted to make sure that I emphasized, which was, first of all, this hands-on learning element. I had my experiences in the mill, which is our make and measure space in material science and engineering, and at GE, and then now moving on into industry, going to be working with Texas Instruments, and that's all hands-on learning. And I'm super excited about all of that. And, especially my undergraduate education, I would say take those opportunities to learn hands-on, no matter what that looks like. And for lack of better words, try to do that sooner rather than later, because you'll learning by doing before you learn it in the classroom sometimes makes that learning in the classroom just so much more fruitful. And so I'd say that's my first bottom line point, is learn hands-on however you can, and do that whenever you can, as long as it's something you're interested in, of course. So do that, one. And I would say my second thing is making sure that student-professor relationship is more cooperative rather than combative. And I think it comes from both sides of the spectrum potentially, but especially in the student perspective, realize that your professor's not there to slam a grade on you that you don't want and to make your life terrible with exams and homeworks and you name it, right? They're there to be in your corner as both let's call it a prophet of knowledge and a great networking opportunity, potentially, if they're in a field that you're interested in. And so I'd say if there is something there that you think would be of value to you, to your knowledge, just work on building those connections also within your university. If you're an undergrad, you don't have to just make connections in industry. Like that's just, You do not need to stop there. It can be anywhere.
Yeah. No, I completely agree with both of those sentiments. And just to add on to that, I would say my two things are, one, self-reflection is super important. And two, it's important to grow your network and continue to develop your existing relationships. So from the reflection standpoint, continue to find time to see what's been a positive and what you can improve upon. And don't just keep going with something just because it's hard to change or because that's just how it's been the whole time. Make adjustments, and that's how you improve every single day. Yes, adapt, improvise, overcome. And from the networking standpoint, while it's good to continue to build new relationships, it's just as important to develop existing ones and 100%. Reach out to the people that you've already had these friendships with or these professional relationships with. They can continue to be of help. So yes, just to summarize, personal reflection and develop your network. You don't have to do this all alone, and it's much easier, much more effective when you have a team around you, the board of directors, as someone would say. So yeah, that's just our bottom line for this episode of professional development.
And thank you all for joining us on this, slightly different episode of the It's a Material Worlds podcast. We like to speak from our experiences, from what we've learned so far in our journeys as material science engineers. And so since this is a little bit of a new episode, we'll also be looking to solicit feedback on this one. So feel free to drop us a line, all the usual places, LinkedIn, Instagram. But long story short, we'll be soliciting feedback on this episode. So let us know what you like. Let us know what you didn't. And this is something we're considering doing more of, looking forward to intermix with our regularly scheduled expert interview programs. Thank you for tuning in to this episode of the It's a Material Worlds podcast. We look forward to releasing our next episode in 2 weeks. Please subscribe to our podcast feed in your favorite podcast app so that you never miss an episode. And tell your friends about our show on social media. But until then, if you want to hear from us, we are on LinkedIn, Twitter, YouTube, and Instagram. Follow or subscribe to us on those platforms to keep up to date with all things It's Material Worlds between our episodes. Links to our social media sites will also be in the show notes. If you have any feedback, we would love to hear it. We are just getting started with a podcast and want to grow this show with our community's input. You can send us feedback through messaging on any of our social media sites. We'd also love to hear your comments through reviews on Apple Podcasts. But until then, take care and stay healthy.